Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's June 3rd, 2019, the new moon in Gemini. I'm Laura Walker, oraclereport.com. I'm back, and we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to jump right on in. But first, a huge thank you to everyone who sent such kind notes to me about my beloved hometown, Virginia Beach. It is always sad when archons attack someone or something that you love. I had been expecting something since the Pharrell Kanye West concert in April. I think I even mentioned it in a recording. I know an archontic imprint when I see one. And so I, since then, have been activating Neutralysis, the word that I made up for the this cycle that I'll talk more about. Um, the title of that concert in Virginia Beach at the end of April was Something in the Water. And the slogan for Virginia, if you didn't know it, is Virginia is for lovers. So the concert was basically a love fest, and the Archons always counter a love fest with some mass death. It's subversion. It's the name of the Game of Thrones. If you followed that, I had talked about that in the New Moon in Aries recording, also about that being so much closer to the truth of reality. And YouTube quickly picked up on the theme of subversion that was played out right in front of everyone. But I digress. By the way, it's not the concert was something in the water, but it's not about the water. It's what's off the water, off the coast in the water, and what's below the coast at the north end, close to the Edgar Cayce Foundation, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, because there's a capacitor under there that charges the quartz in the sand, and it makes it a fabulous place for healing and love. Beautiful energy. It's a favored place of the Illuminati and Queenie. So I'm not interested in playing the subversion game of false flag or not. All trauma and evil acts are from the archons. The human actor is infected with the archonic parasite. So, but the shooter's background is shady. For me, the proof is in the fact that Virginia Beach is large and quite populated, if you did not know that. It has several hospitals, and in April, before the concert, that big concert, there was a drill held for mass casualty event, but it was at a hospital, but it was not held at the hospital closest to the ocean front where the concert was, but it was held very close to the courthouse where this event happened Friday. There's much more to Virginia Beach than Atlantic Avenue and the tourism. It's a very large, beautiful place with a lot of different things happening. It's interesting. I find myself in places where mass events have happened, and then the day before usually, or a little bit before, and then not there when the event happens. So in 2001, I lived in New York City and left a month and 11 days before 9/11. The Charlottesville event, I was in Charlottesville overnight the day before that event, and then in Virginia Beach, of course, I was there and actually had to go out of town that morning. So I wasn't there when the event happened. I'm not there when these events happen, but I find myself there just before a lot of them. um, and I work with the Mahavidyas about that. And I've been working with the Mahavidyas and under deep instruction for the past month. So, related to all of this is what am calling the antidote for the archons, which is the title of an article written by Robert Stanley over at unicus.com, which his antidote is be kind, calm, and creative as an antidote for the archons, which is great. But willpower alone is usually not enough when you're dealing with an interdimensional parasite. A parasite that is physically inside us but controlled non locally. And it's a parasite that can control the neurological system, well, all the systems, but particularly the neurological system, what gets in our minds. And so I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving medical advice. I am talking from personal experience. And what I've learned is that you have to eradicate the parasite in order to take your power back. And I've been thinking a lot about what this might be for over a year when my friend Wise Owl Logan, if you've been around Oracle Report for a while, you might remember from the Trek for Truth. Logan biked halfway and then walked the other half, or reverse. Walked the first half and biked the second half across the United States, east to west, and to raise awareness for Lyme disease, which I believe we all basically have. It's an autoimmune disease, and it's the parasite. It's the parasite inside of us. The way that I have found, and that others too, found to do this, to eradicate the parasite, to then regain your will to return to your life and to yourself, are the natural things that are available. Logan said that the solution or the antidote for the archontic infection had to be simple, and it had to be something readily available to everybody, which made really good sense to me. What I have found and what has worked for me over the past month, pumpkin seed extract and grape seed extract are fabulous anti-parasitics. There are lots of other things. Certain mushrooms. I will link an article by Wise Owl Michael talking about a specific mushroom and how the Gnostics even discussed the effectiveness of this mushroom to rid ourselves of the archonic infection. So where I'm going now in Oracle Report is towards this neutralysis, the act of rendering ourselves neutral to the events that the archons perpetrate upon us, and neutralizing the parasite itself inside of us. So another side note, and I know I'm just kind of talking about some general things here, and I am going to get into the specifics of the astrology of the new moon in Gemini. If you caught this story of the drama on YouTube with the drama with the beauty gurus, and all of that, Tati, James Charles, that was a big drama that really, at its core, was an archonic attack via a broken heart of somebody who produced a product, Tati, that happens to have pumpkin seed and grape seed extract in it. And so I'm sure that she does not know that this is something that contains the things that will eradicate the archontic parasites. And probably what happened with all of that drama was, instead of trying to destroy Tati and what she was doing, it probably brought more people to her product. And of course, this is not sponsored. I'm never sponsored, never have been. But that product has been effective for me, and it's a gentle way to eradicate the parasite. In fact, if your experience is anything like mine, you will feel the consciousness of the parasite dying very strange, but it's a gentle way to do it. The hardcore way to do it, I will link in the article with the mushroom. Give it a try. Take back your life. Because that's what it is, my friends. It's a parasite that the archons have managed to introduce into the environment. We are all affected, and we can all cure it. So, as I said, I've been in deep instruction with the Mahavidyas and over the last month, and completing my own black moon transit, the conjunction of the black moon to my natal sun. So, of course, the black moon brings the process of death and rebirth. And I'm past that now, and I'm into the rebirth, and I'm prepared now for the new starts that this month brings us, the incredible energy for that. I have always said that what we do for ourselves, we do for all of us. And I hope and believe that the work that I did with the Black Moon in Pisces will help everyone else who is experiencing that transit. I will record separately on the Black Moon in Pisces. Basically, what that is about, just quickly here, is everyone will be dealing with issues of failure, feelings of failure, and a questioning of spirit of God. That's what comes with the Black Moon in Pisces. And dealing with our own vulnerabilities where we feel personally vulnerable and mistrustful. Now, this will be, of course, affecting those with the Sun, Chiron, Black Moon, or the Moon in Pisces or Virgo. And if you're new to the Oracle Report, like many of you are, you can go to my website, oraclereport.com, under the Books tab. You will find the PDF, the free ebook of my Black Moon book, and you can read on the Black Moon, the natal Black Moon in Pisces or Virgo, and the things that come along with that, and how to bring about the rebirth. Now, if you're one of those people, remember you'll have 1 month of an intensive transit of death and rebirth that's going to come into the core, and be dealing with it for the remainder of we have 7 months left of it. So if you're in that category, you'll have one intense month, but generally over the entire 9-month transit of the Black Moon, we all experience it as a whole. Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac, and the Black Moon cleans up and prepares for a new beginning in a completely revitalized way. Neptune is in Pisces. Neptune's home sign is Pisces, which deals with illusions, shattering and destroying illusions, and connection with spirit, with what's true. It will bring up addictions to be healed, and events and circumstances that test and reinforce our faith in a higher power. Okay, so one announcement before I start here. As part of my new start, my reboot, Oracle Report 2.0, tomorrow, which is June 4th, will be the return of the daily Oracle Reports for anyone who is interested. Through subscription, $5.95 a month if you want to do that, where I'll, do it basically like I used to, coming back to basics, probably not as long and as in depth as I used to write, because I really want to record more. I'm understanding more about how the voice and the frequencies of the voice communicate in other ways. So changing it up to recording with some reports, but and I'm kind of excited to get back to basics with that, because it's an anchor for me as well as many of you. So Just go to oraclereport.com tomorrow, June 4th. I'll probably keep the first few days up for free on that on the site. So if you're new and you don't know what it's about, you can see what I do. And there's years of archives under the archives tab if you want to look there also. Remember, spin the wheel on that on the search bar on the archives page. If it's June 3rd, just type in June 3rd on the search bar. It'll bring up any reports I did on June 3rd. You may find something very helpful in that report, even though it's the astrology of a day in the past. There's imprinting that goes along with each day when the sun is at a certain degree. So there's always that. It's all, just give it a try. All right, so new moon in Gemini, neutralysis and new starts. That's really the full name of this recording and the theme for this month. It's it's time that we change words and make new ones, new words, taking back the power of language. And so neutralysis is the process of remaining neutral. The root word of lysis is about loosening, dissolving. It means, in my mind, dissolving ourselves back to center to remain neutral to events that are happening. Okay, which is what? It's being the wise owl in the tree, the thing that we've been practicing for 10 years on the Oracle Report. All those years of practicing that skill. Now is the time to apply it. This year is the time of intensive application of that skill. And even though, I thought about neutralize or neutralization, but that really has a connotation of death. And that's not what I'm talking about. This is quite active, in fact. It's active in the fact that we are neutral to, or disinvested emotionally and otherwise, perhaps, in the daily events of what is happening as sunset on the New World Order occurs. Remember, the Sabian symbol for this entire solar lunar year is fairies dancing in the setting sun, which has always been about, as we've talked about, sunset on the New World Order, a time of reset. So neutralysis is that action of the process of remaining neutral and disinvested in what is happening, and as archons go wild all over the world. But it is active in that we take action toward life and not death, love and not fear, empowerment, not disempowerment. The Sabian symbol for the Gemini cycle is a world famous pianist giving a concert performance. So we are the pianist and we are giving the concert performance. We are manifesting, we are sharing our talents this month. It's a month of new starts, as you'll see in the Sabian symbols. But as I've said so many times over the past several years, we have already won. This is not a battle anymore. The proof is the low levels to which archons gone wild have succumbed. Would not be necessary if they were prevailing. Truth and love prevails. Now we see the demonstration. A world famous pianist giving a concert performance is the Sabian symbol. It's about playing life instead of being played by life. We play life instead of it playing us, instead of the archon setting us up into constant loops of subversion. Yes, lifting everything up and everything is good and happiness, and then crash it down into sadness, because what is produced in that? A lot of loosh, a lot of emotional energy, right? highs and lows. No, neutralysis is when we come back into center and we watch and we see and we turn away from to some degree. It doesn't mean that we do not do the right thing. We know what the right thing is for us to do. We may be involved somehow in the communication of truth, you know, truthers on some level. But it's really about, now it's about not putting our lives on hold in order to focus on everything that is happening geopolitically or in the metaphysical world, or with the myriad of subjects that are coming to light. New starts and playing life, returning to what we love to do, what's outside, returning to the outdoors instead of it all locked as much in on the black screen, the monolith, because that's where sanity lies. Okay, minimization of the digital, maximization of the physical, the real. So those are the two themes this month: play life instead of being played, and new starts. Now, this is a crescent month, a crescent cycle. So in the cycles of the sun and the moon, we begin a new year at the new moon in Aries, and this is the divine a time cycle set in place that's has been secret. Okay, it's not the January 1st is the new year. It's the new moon in Aries is the new year. And so it's a different time wheel that the archons use, and the Illuminati use, and to hide what they're doing so that it's not as easy to track. We've been tracking it for a while. The point of it is each month's energy and what is introduced into the collective consciousness follows the pattern of, like, the 8 moon phases. So if we overlaid the 8 moon phases onto the year, or split the year into 8 parts, this new moon on June 3rd, 2019, today, occurs during what's the crescent time of the year. The crescent time of the year is this month, okay, this cycle, the crescent time of each month, those few days, and then the crescent time of the year that month, sometimes two. This year we're so lucky because we only have one. It's the time when perseverance and persistence is required to not give up, because this is how things are mowed down. And I always talk about the moon phases parallel to the growing of a plant. And so with new cycles, new moons, new cycles is a beginning, a planting, a starting something. And then the crescent phase or the crescent cycle is when that seed is trying to pop out of the shell and rise up through the darkness, through the depths of the dirt, and reach light. Reach light happens at first quarter, which will be next month. For this reason, crescent months, crescent cycles are not the ideal time for new beginnings, new starts, because it's harder. But we actually have a lot of energy to help with this. The keyword of crescent cycles being perseverance and persistence, having to, like, not give up on what the ideas, the ways the direction we're going in order to not just hit the roadblock or hit the wall, in order to keep going and not get pulled back into the past. we persevere and persist. So usually that takes a lot of energy to try and maintain it, especially if you're doing something that's a beautiful thing and that the parasite is against. The internal parasite doesn't want you to do it. And remember, the inner archonic parasite is adept at stopping us in our tracks cold with the smallest things. For example, drinking enough water. Primary way that the parasite maintains control. Not only are we weakened by that, it sabotages us, and that's what the parasite does. Because when we are sabotaged or we're in a lower level energy, we are not actualizing, we're not living, and we aren't having the energy to break out of the illusion of the matrix to see what's beyond, because that's there. It's a matter of all of this archonic stuff falling away. And if you remember, the Mahavidyas in 2015 said 2020 would be when the bulk of the archonic energy and control systems would be over. How we are seeing that. How we are seeing that now. So even though this is crescent cycle and it's hard on new starts, we do have a lot of energy within the Sabian symbols of the other planets to help us. Now, a short word about the Taurus cycle, which I did not record on talk about. The Taurus cycle, the Sabian symbol was a man with a rakish hat, muffled against the cold, braves a storm. We were the man in the tattered hat, the rakish hat, but we were also the storm. Gemini new moon. Remember that this year, this solar lunar year, is fairies dancing in the setting sun. Okay, so endings and the beginnings, transition time, the veils between the worlds are thinnest at that time, at sunset and sunrise. 13 degrees of Gemini is the Sabian symbol for the new moon of a world class or world famous. It's written both ways in different books. A world class pianist giving a concert performance. So it's a real world manifestation, especially of what has been practiced with great discipline over time. It's about sharing ourselves and our talents without the need for exterior validation. This symbol spans the world. It's about playing piano, all of those notes. Oh gosh, and how wonderful is it to listen to a live performance by a pianist. I was so very lucky to grow up. My mother is a classically trained pianist, and I grew up listening to beautiful, beautiful music. So if you haven't listened to anything like that in a long time, now's the time. This cycle is the time. In addition to this being crescent cycle with a lot of energy to help us overcome and persevere within crescent energies, there are not a lot of astrological aspects happening in aspect to the new moon. There's a wide square with Neptune and a wide opposition with Jupiter, which brings us closer to spirit and expansion of our minds and consciousness. Mercury is conjunct the galactic center, meaning that we are receiving messages and information and communication all month long, but particularly during the first few days of the new moon. The the idea of the galactic center is limitlessness and divine connection. Mercury is in sextile with Eris, which will, will bring up in our minds and our speech things that must change. And of course, we have the biggie that we are working until January with the giant conjunction of Saturn and Pluto. So right now, I have a whole recording that's up on YouTube about Saturn Pluto and what that's about, and the history of Saturn Pluto and the cycles of the Saturn Pluto conjunctions every 33 to 38 years and what those have been. So we look back to the past to see the imprints and the repeats in the pattern. We see the future pattern. So that had a lot of information in it, but I think very valuable and interesting, particularly with that whole space program stuff that was imprinting with that, and now all of this alleged disclosure, which is a whole other recording. We have on June 21st Mercury moving into the shadow of its retrograde, which officially begins on July 7th. So if you need to buy any electronics or big ticket kind of purchases, you want to go ahead and do that before June 21st, before Mercury goes into its shadow, because usually what happens if we purchase something high ticket or electronics during a Mercury retrograde, they usually will fail during a future retrograde. So just keep that in mind. That's really all that we have as far as other planets aspecting the new moon. So that's nice. We aren't loaded in with aspects. Let's go through the Sabian symbols. Earth is located 13 Sagittarius, which is a widow's past is brought to light. Now remember, the themes are neutralysis and new starts. The word widow repeats 2 times in the Sabian symbols of the degrees of each of the planets at the time of the new moon. So to refresh us, wherever the planets are located at the time of the new moon, which was 6:01 a.m. Eastern Time today, June 3rd, whatever those degrees were, that harmonic, if you will, the discharge of that degree happens progressively all month long. So it isn't just in effect on the day of the new moon. That imprint is like a song that's played. It's a very long song that's played throughout the month. So we look at the degrees of the planets at the new moon and the associated Sabian symbols, which are the archetypal images, the nature, if you will, the definition of each of the 360 degrees of the zodiac is encapsulated in the code of the Sabian symbols. So widow repeats twice, with the earth at a widow's past is brought to light, which is about new life and new starts. It's about the past finding us, the past finding other people, the past catching up with people. It's about exposure and lifting the veil. It's new beginnings, and it's about leaving behind darkness. The other Sabian symbol is the location of Uranus at the new moon at 5 Taurus, a widow at an open grave, which again is endings and beginnings. Uranus is not in a exact conjunction with the Chiron point as it has been over the last couple of months, bringing about a lot of suicide, a lot of suicidal ideation, a lot of wounding from the past being brought up, new wounding occurring, all in service to heal and teach us lessons. Very difficult. The Chiron point. Uranus at the Chiron point brought these things and is bringing these things because it's still in range at 3 degrees out for sure. And some people will feel it at as much as 7 degrees out from 4 degrees of Taurus, which is the degree of the Chiron point. But Uranus there, and the Chiron point, what that means for those of you who are new, it means that's 4 degrees of Taurus is the location in the sky where Chiron was located when it was discovered in 1977. So it's basically that is the nature of for Taurus, which is the Sabian symbol of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So there's storms to get the rainbow and to get the gold, which is the gold of the soul. And so in humanistic terms, in the human-centered paradigm, we grow. We actualize, we find the various colors of ourselves and the colors of the world and the beauty of life and the value of life, which brings us to the gold of the soul. So we have widow 2 times in here. It's feminine energy to leave the past, face forward, and have a new start. Mercury, as I said, is conjunct the galactic center. It is only a degree off of exact conjunction. It's at 28 Gemini, which is the Sabian symbol of society granting bankruptcy to him. A man leaves the court. So he's free to start over. We're free to start over with something that Queenie's court system, Queenie's matrix system, the Archon's matrix system, the Jesuit matrix system has imposed, the setup for failure that is. So this is a new start. Again, it repeats this new start granted by the court. We do not need the court to grant us a start in our consciousness. That's beyond maritime law. I hope that the audit the Fed, dissolve the Fed theme returns in some way this month with this symbol in effect. We should expect markets and money markets to have some change. Much of this coming about through word of mouth or rumors that start or propaganda. It's Mercury, communication. Venus is at 24 Taurus, an Indian warrior riding fiercely, human scalps hanging at his belt. Not one of my favorite pictures. The energy is about risks and fights over territory and theft and showing off, scalping. The Indian warrior rides fiercely and is collecting the enemy. Be very careful if you're taking a risk this month. Make sure you're thinking twice, especially if it's something very, very serious. Venus is in trine to the great South Node Saturn-Pluto conjunction that we have right now. Remember, we're under the effect of retrogrades. Saturn and Pluto are retrograde until the fall. Jupiter is retrograde. So you might feel like you've hit the wall and that things were moving along and then bam, slowed down. That's crescent energy to some degree, but it's also this this rather negative or kind of grisly Sabian symbol of Venus. So it's trying to bring ferocity on the high octave to our ability to stand our ground and create new ground structure. Pluto Saturn means transformation of ground structure, of foundations, of formations on which we can build a new start. See? Mars is at 12 Cancer. A Chinese a Chinese woman nursing a baby whose aura reveals him to be the reincarnation of a great teacher. This is Mars. This energy is about simplifying things that are complicated. There is a wise owl whose sun is this degree, and this is the when the sun is located, where the sun is located on July 4th, incidentally. But this wise owl, under this Sabian symbol of the Chinese woman nursing the baby, reveals him to be the reincarnation of a great teacher, is a Qigong master. And this is about moving energy, and which is a ideal, perfect, wonderful way to practice neutralysis, because you can go within and all of the external can be moved around you. Qigong. If that's kind of been popping up in the field or something in the back of your mind, or if your real mind, which is trying to override the archonic mindset, is pointing you in that direction to go to look into that, do it. Okay, remember, some people, if they're not under a lot of transits at a certain time, if they're not under the influences of the electromagnetic plasmic events of the astrology, willpower can overcome that in many cases. Generally speaking, and given the degree to which our bodies are degraded from the parasitic influence, willpower alone, Velte alone, is not going to do it. Okay, again, back to that exploring ways, different things to eradicate parasites. Talk with your nutritionist. I have a wonderful one I can recommend, or whomever you work with. Follow your own guidance on that. Take the idea of this and my reiteration of it and explore it on your own, and use your own self as your compass. Jupiter is located at 21 Sagittarius, making a trine to the Eris point, which emphasizes and exaggerates potential for false flags. 21 degrees of Aries is the degree that the Illuminati and the Jesuits used to conduct nefarious activities. 21 degrees of Sagittarius is the Sabian symbol of a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. Shifts in perspective. Again, what is that? That's a new start. Looking at it a different way. Now let's look specifically at the main conjunction happening now, the Saturn South Node Pluto conjunction. They're all tightly there together in Capricorn. The nodes are retrograde. They switch back and forth very quickly, but predominantly retrograde. They move retrograde. Saturn is at a child of about 5 carrying a huge shopping bag full of groceries, weighing us down under this retrograde. It's trying to get us to see that we do not need to carry all of the groceries at once in one bag, especially when it is out of proportion to our strength and capabilities. Take a couple of trips instead. The child of about 5, the symbol has Pluto's been there and retrograding back and forth over its Saturn. It's been a lot, in effect, a lot over the last year. The inner child is activated with it. Uranus at the Chiron point activates the inner child because the inner child is ruled by Chiron. Age 5 is also the one of the first times that archonic in, infection occurs and produces traumatic events in a child's life. It is often at age 5. And if you have 21 degrees Aries in your or cardinal in your chart with a certain planet, we may have talked about that in a reading because I've talked with many of you about this. We with Saturn wants us to grow up, right? It wants us to be an adult and do the right thing and be responsible. And when people hit their Saturn return, around age 28, it's like you have to grow up. You really come into your own, and you have to come to grips with what the world or perhaps your family expects of you and what you want and what you expect for you. That's what Saturn's about. It's the patriarchy, it's the father. It rules time. What would an adult do with a huge shopping bag full of groceries? Or what would an adult who saw a child that was carrying something that was too much of a load? It would help. We would help. We need to help ourselves and lessen our load. Again, shopping bag full of antiparasitics, perhaps, okay? This is telling us to find new ground, Saturn. Bend time to where it's more effective for us. That's what is time anyway anymore? How fast it is going, how the nights, it seems like you go to bed and then and you wake up and you feel like you just went to bed. So many of us are experiencing this. So many people are talking about this. The malleability of time, becoming the master of time, the world-class time practitioner. Return your life back to time. Bring your life back in time, into the present. The life that maybe has been put on hold because so much of our attention has been distracted onto the dissolution of the matrix, and to facilitate the dissolution of the matrix, because wise owls that have been at this for a long time have been trailblazing the field of consciousness for years before the Great Awakening. Okay, we've been at this for a while, and it took trailblazing for 100th monkey effect to come in. The other part of the retrograde, the second part, the South Node's at 18 Capricorn. Who remembers what 18 Capricorn is? I know someone out there does. The Union Jack flies from a new British warship. All right. Pluto and Saturn are headed back to 18 Capricorn. And then when they go direct, Pluto's not going to get there, but Saturn will. Saturn's going to hit it again. And so Brexit has been trying to happen for a couple of years, and it was when Pluto approached and hit 18 Capricorn. Well, it's back in play. It will be for the rest of the year. I'll cover that when Saturn gets there and when it comes back. So this is not the end. And I'm quite certain that Brexit will happen because it's fairies dancing in the setting sun. Queenie's Jesuit system there. You may trade a new flag, but it isn't going to be the same way it used to be. Pluto is at 23 Capricorn, a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat. Valiant efforts are rewarded. The time of reward. The symbol is also about manipulation, about mind control, because soldiers and service people receive a bit of indoctrination to carry out orders. Intention is behind this. And it's 2 awards, a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat. 2 things were done. Pluto, god of the underworld, god of transformation, the energy of. We're not worshiping planets here. We're studying the electromagnetic code. It's all mathematics and harmonics when we break it down. Perhaps you need to award yourself 2 times for your bravery in the combat of this matrix. And now put the combat away. No more combat. Neutralysis. Wise owl in the tree. We're neutral and disinvested of our energy into the events that are being forced upon us, forced to distract us daily with different things. Now, Neptune is located at 19 Pisces, a master instructing his disciple. This is about getting in touch with our higher self. This is about reconnecting with the higher self, reestablishing trust with the higher self, the oversoul, if you will. Because this is where we can have the most effect, the most widespread effect. Because when we request and ask assistance of our oversoul, of our higher self, to intervene and to take action with the higher selves of other humans infected by the archonic parasite, we are going, soul to soul within interdimensionality. That's far more vast than our actions here and now. Take instruction. What are you learning? Okay, are you learning anything from this recording? I so hope so. This no more playing on this battlefield. We're not engaged in battle anymore. We need to remember and to take ourselves out of that mindset. That's part of Second Renaissance. Second Renaissance can't occur if we're in an old world paradigm, disempowered, with nowhere to go, and thinking that things are hopeless, because they are not. Just because the wild knights of the archons are front and center and coming in closer and closer within our circle than ever, we understand that this is what happens at the end time, and that this is not going to last forever. Be the master and the disciple. Be in the world, but not of it. Reconnect with the higher self. Chiron is at 6 Aries, a square brightly lighted on one side. This is ideas that are out of the box. Again, new starts. Maybe we've been looking at these other sides of a situation, and maybe there's a side that we haven't seen that has been quite a blessing. It's got bright light on it. That's shining. It's brightly lit on one side, a square, a cube. It's Illuminati for sure. We can take the symbol back and the words back of that. We can think out of the box with Chiron's help to help us move beyond the wounding and the trauma of the past. And might I add, the past of the black moon's cycle through each of the signs for the last decade. Okay, that's really what's ending, is the end times, the 2012 time that brought us into 4D. We've been going through Archonic Land of Consciousness in 4D, Archons in Control. 2020 we come into 5. We're mentally and psychologically in consciousness, we're in 5. We're trying to adjust to 5 as the matrix dissolves. I hope that makes sense. I hope I put some light on that cube. The black moon is at 4 Pisces. The Sabian symbol is heavy car traffic on a narrow isthmus. So hard for me to say that word. Isthmus, linking two seaside resorts. Seaside resort was Virginia Beach. One of them, we may expect something else possibly at another seaside resort. That event did take place in the balsamic or the prep phase for the new moon. With this symbol, it's very important to cultivate patience. That's the main thing it's trying to tell us. To be patient with congestion or things slowing down. With the retrogrades, right? Where retrograde kind of puts us in hold pattern while it's rework and redo. The black moon involves two sides of things, death and rebirth. There's always two with it. Road rage is comes with this. Sightsee. If you're stopped, if you feel like your life is on hold or stopped, understand that we're all under a retrograde, multiple retrograde status that is far-reaching. That Saturn Pluto that occurs in January of 2020 is where all of this is leading. So keep your eye on the horizon there, because it is January 2020 where we're building, and from now, between now and then, we transform and we change, and we have to go where the retrogrades lead us, and where Uranus at the Chiron point is putting us where we need to be for perfect healing and health and knowledge, wisdom. Quickly, Mars, as I said, has entered Cancer. I'm trying to finish under 1 hour here. June 11th through the 20th is when Mars and Mercury, Mars and Mercury are going to conjunct on the 18th, but Mars and Mercury are going to be opposite that big conjunction going on between the South Node, Saturn, and Pluto. That is, we'll see some events. We're going to see some changes and some things going on then. Heads up. And I'll be, of course, covering that on the daily reports. Mercury is going to enter Cancer tomorrow, June 4th, around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll leave Gemini. Last thing, on President Trump, this week is the danger time that I mentioned last fall in my article about the Illuminati and Trump's chart and he who shall not be named due to being deplatformed on everything. I'm going to link that article on my website on Oracle Report, because it'll get flagged if I put it here, and this will get put down, because we know we can't say certain people's names here, or we get shut down. Neutralysis and new starts. Okay, that's all for this recording. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for coming back, everyone. Much, much love to you. Catch me over at oraclereport.com, and I will see you next time.